Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining. My name is Nichelle Desautels. I am a field education trainer here in Vancouver, BC. I just wanted to start off by saying thank you so much to Modern Beauty for letting us come on here week to week and share our education with all of you guys. Today I have Chelsea Mann joining me. Before I let her in, I'm just going to do a little bit of housekeeping. At the bottom of your page, there's a little question box there that has a question mark on it. If you could please use that to submit your questions, that would be great. It makes it much easier to retrieve. Otherwise, I will be watching the chat box if any questions do come in there. All right, so I'm going to let Chelsea in.
Hello.
Hello.
I gotta say, Nish, you were very close when you pointed down at the question box. It was very close. It's the closest you've ever come to actually like nailing it. I think it's up here somewhere. But it was very close. So good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Modern Beauty Supply, again for having us. We're very grateful to have you guys share your space with us every Wednesday now. We're hoping that everybody is enjoying their back to work. And I just wanted to say happy non-binary people's day, which was yesterday, but we weren't on yesterday. So for all of you non-binary people out there, happy day. So like Nichelle said, we're going to be talking about some color removal techniques today. So I've got, you guys can't see it right now, but I've got a whole setup here of swatches and surprises and fun stuff. And it's very nerdy, but that's okay. That's us. So we're going to talk about some color removal techniques today. We're going to talk about some things you guys already know about. And we're going to run a few little experiments kind of closer to the end where you guys, if you could see my setup right now, like I've got things in foils and fun stuff. So a lot of this stuff, I don't even really know what's going to happen. I like have an idea of what's going to happen, but we're going to open the foils and you're going to see it at the same time as we are. So there's no tricks here. There's no nothing. This is just, you know, a group of hairdressers sitting around getting nerdy. So yeah, I hope you guys are in for it with us today. We're very excited to kind of get started on this journey. So what do you got, Nichelle?
That all sounds great. I mean, I know since I've been back in the salon about a week, I've done 2 color corrections already. So, and that's I've only been in the salon for like 5 clients at this point. So yeah.
That's a pretty big percentage for only 5 clients. You're totally right. I did a COVID color correction, and that's what I'm calling it because I haven't come up with a better name yet, but stay tuned. I did a COVID correction this past weekend where I had a girl come in with hair as long as mine, thick like a horsetail ponytail, who had decided that from dark brown hair that she wanted to be a blonde during COVID. So she achieved some lightness, but it was quite like, if you can see the color of my Post-it notes here that I'm working from, it was very that. So we did a balayage, we did a root shadow, we did a toner. She was here all day in my studio and it was quite something, but we made her something livable in the end. So I think that that's sort of one of the lessons that we're getting to with color removal and adjustment sort of techniques as we're coming back into the salon is really to be mindful, first of all, of managing a client's expectations. I know that I did an Instagram live before, excuse me, about consultation stuff. And I'm not going to go through all of the consultation stuff I went through on that Instagram live. It is available on Modern Beauty Supply's IGTV if you want to go back and watch it. But we really need to start when we're talking about color removal techniques. We need to start with consultation because how can you remove something if you don't know what it is?
Yeah,
you know? So I think that's the most important part is to get that really strong hair history, make sure we know what we're dealing with before we can really get into any of these techniques, right? Or any of these ideas that we have. So I think with that said, do you have anything else to add before I get into my swatches here, Nichelle?
No, let's get nerdy. Let's
get nerdy. All right. So I think first of all, I just wanted to talk about a few of the techniques or the things that we're going to use today. So the first one that I think one of the first ones we're going to talk about is my friend and yours, Color Renew. Okay. So when Nichelle and I talked about doing this color removal technique, we really talked a lot about, and our team talked a lot about Color Renew. Color Renew is sort of the unsung hero of our portfolio. People like to frame it in different ways and things like that. But for us, Color Renew, we don't use the word stripper or remover or extractor or any of those terms. When we're talking about Color Renew, we use the word reducer, okay? Because Color Renew really is a way that we can reduce pigment that's already in the hair. Now, people ask me all the time, you know, oh, I used Color Renew and I didn't see a lot of levels of lift. That's because your brain is telling you use a lightener, right? When we're talking about reduction of pigment, we're talking about reduction of the color result that exists in those cortex cells, right? So if we're reducing that color content, it allows us to lift the hair subsequently with a lightener. And just because you don't see a ton of actual levels of lift with Color Renew doesn't mean it's not doing its job, right? Have you seen this happen before when you've used Color Renew, Michelle?
Yeah, so I actually used Color Renew on Monday night. I had a client come in. She has been a 3-stroke 0 in Coliston for as long as I've been doing her hair.
Wow.
And she's a level 7 naturally, and decided with her 2 inches of regrowth that she wanted to go back to her natural.
Yeah.
So I did 2 rounds of Color Renew in the color correction formula. And as much as you don't see lift, it just exposed like a level 6 underneath. So we had that nice like orange underneath.
Yeah.
So I ended up just putting like a 6-stroke 2 on her ends and a 6-stroke 0 on her roots, and boom, like we're like one level away from her natural. So the next session is going to be awesome.
And what a great use of Color Renew to be able to like create that nice clean canvas that we can easily lighten from, right? Now, I've seen some pretty extreme, and I'm going to show you some pretty extreme results from Color Renew. I've used it on my own hair many a time. And I've seen some pretty extreme results, but I think it's important, like you said, Michelle, to know that if you don't visually see big changes in levels of lift like you would with a lightener, that's to be expected. We want to either follow it up with a lightener, or we want to make sure that we're, you know, creating subsequent appointments like you did, Michelle. So with Color Renew, I'm not going to take you guys through like heavy PK today. I want you guys to download the app, get online, and find that information. I have lots of swatches to get through today, so I'm going to skip some of that stuff. But I want important things with Color Renew to know is it's important to know that Color Renew, generally speaking, and I'm going to show you a little bit of a hack with this today, but generally speaking, we only use Color Renew on permanent color. So oxidative color that lives in those cortex cells, has a relationship with the natural melanin. That's the sort of color that we're going to use Color Renew on to reduce that pigment down and allow us to do the rest of the lightening, okay? The other thing it's important to know about Color Renew is 2 parts. It's your sachets and your activator liquid. We don't use the word developer with Color Renew, but it's those 2 parts mixed at a 1-to-10 mixing ratio. Okay, so I'm going to show anything to add there on Color Renew.
No, I'm excited to see what swatches you have for us.
Perfect. So I'm going to start with my permanent one, since I just told you that oxidative color, permanent color is where we use Color Renew. So I'll show you where I started. I've got a few little extra swatches here. So it's going to be hard to see, but this is where we started. Okay. We can see that, right? This is a 5-5, a Coliston Perfect 5-stroke 5. Okay, so I made up the swatch, and then I put my Color Renew on it. You can see my shorthand there, and I haven't looked at this yet, guys. So we're gonna see everybody. Hopefully this doesn't go horribly wrong. Stay tuned. So
yes, that's amazing.
Right. So that's Color Renew, and I just got a towel here. I'm just gonna wipe it off. This is Color Renew, 1 part crystal powder to 10 parts of our activator liquid. The other cool thing about Color Renew is that Color Renew is damage free, guys. Because Color Renew isn't, it's not a bleach, it's persulfate free, it's peroxide free, it doesn't have any of those ingredients in it. It allows us to have this damage free lift. Now you guys can see my hair is quite blonde. I've used Color Renew on my own hair several times and lived this no damage life for like the first time in 20 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, so these are the kinds of like on permanent color. Now this 5-5 was done on a white swatch just so that we can see the difference. Okay. So done over top of blonde hair, you can definitely see these results. If you've got 10 years of, you know, black box color, you know, maybe visually we won't see it as much result, but like that's a you know, a red to a blonde with no bleach.
Yeah, and just like with my client on Monday, it just exposed her level 6 underneath. It didn't lift anything. It just exposed what was sitting underneath her color. So
totally. Pretty cool, right? Now, after this, we could also go back in and we could tone this afterwards. We could also lighten it afterwards, right? We can do it, again, guys, the process for this and exactly how to do it and when to shampoo and all of those questions that you guys are going to have, throw them into the question cards, totally fine. But you can also find those answers on the app, okay? They're all on there. But yeah, you can totally do a toner after this. You can color after it. You can highlight after it. It's pretty cool. So that's Color Renew from a permanent. Now, that is the textbook way we use Color Renew, okay? Technically speaking, we don't use Color Renew on a demi, okay? The reason for that is that a demi-permanent color, among other things, is made up of oxidative pigments and non-oxidative pigments, meaning we may have some pigment content that lives in that cuticle layer that's going to really block Color Renew from being able to do its job, right? So I wouldn't be me if I didn't ask these questions. So when I learned about Color Renew, I asked, like, why can't we do this? Can we try it? And the answer that I was given is that the reason we don't use Color Renew on a demi is, like I just said, but some demis will have a higher concentration of that semi-permanent pigment and it won't work. Okay, so officially speaking, so everybody heard it, we don't use Color Renew on demis. However, I have strand tested it and tried it many times. Okay, this is the same color, 5-stroke 5 in our Color Touch, in our demi line with Color Renew on it.
yes, amazing.
Okay, so again, I'm gonna wipe it off so you guys can see. Now, my point with doing this, guys, is that to show you that is it possible that we could see results on a demi-permanent color with Color Renew? Absolutely. But will we see these results consistently like we would with all of the shades in the Colorstem Perfect portfolio? No. And I think you'll find as I continue on here that the overbearing, sort of overarching is probably the wrong word, but the overarching lesson that we have here with Color Renew and with color removal techniques in general is really that it's important to stick to the process that you have that's going to give you consistent results. I'm going to show you guys, like later, I'm going to try and lift color with color. I'm going to use high lift to try to lift color out. I'm going to show you the 000 to remove a semi. We're going to do a few different hacks and a few different things that you'll find people do on the internet, but never would be consistent. Okay, so in your permanent is really where we'll see the consistent results. Will you sometimes see stuff like this with a demi? Sure. Will you sometimes put it on a demi and be wildly disappointed? Yes.
Yeah.
Anything to add there, Nichelle?
No, I completely agree. I also did the same thing and swatched it with a demi when we got it. So
yeah.
And yeah, you're right. It's inconsistent, but it does sometimes work.
Totally. And I mean, if you're nerdy like us, I mean, Nichelle and I both have swatch books full of swatches that we've done. I'll sit on the floor of my studio and, you know, put Grey's Anatomy on the TV and swatch every like quarter tube of Color Touch that I have with Color Renew so that I have a listing of which ones may work and which ones don't. But officially, that's not how we use Color Renew, is my point.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions in our question cards yet?
No questions yet.
That's okay. All good. Okay, so I wanted to move on and show you guys another little thing. I'm going to leave my sort of hacks until last. Those are the other swatches I have. I'm actually going to do some lightning live for you guys right now, okay? I have more swatches that I'm going to show you. I think it's important to note a couple of different things when we're lightening. I think a lot of times hairdressers, when they say, oh, I got to lighten the hair, they just jump straight into their Blondor and 20 vol, or they get crazy and they get overwhelmed, you know what I mean? And they don't sort of think a little bit deeper than that. But your lightening process is always going to be very situational. What am I trying to lighten through? Where do I want to reach? Do I need to overshoot it? Like, what's my final goal? And what's realistic for this client? Have I managed this client's expectations, right? So I think the first one I'm going to start with is our cleansing rinse. Do you ever do cleansing rinses, Nichelle?
Yeah, I do all the time.
Yeah,
It's a really nice, gentle way to remove tone, and it's good for like those quick fixes. So,
totally. So cleansing rinse, this is a great point about quick fixes. Cleansing rinse, some people call them a bleach cocktail. In the US, they call them soap caps. It really depends on what you guys want to do. We don't like that terminology. So I'm just going to move my camera here a little bit. We don't like that terminology. We prefer cleansing rinse. It just sounds a little bit less angry, maybe. There, that's better. So we use the term cleansing rinse, and the easy way to remember it is, a cleansing rinse is part lightener powder, part water. Okay. So for our cleansing rinse today, I've got our brand new Blondorplex. Pretty excited about this. If you guys have, I know some of you, I know for sure Nichelle has used Blondorplex. But if you haven't used it, you guys should go out and get some ASAP because it's my new favorite thing. Are you going through it like crazy, Nichelle?
oh yeah, I love it. Everybody's getting it. Even my hair, like you remember how dark my hair was during quarantine? We
Totally.
went from dark to this using Blondorplex, and I haven't had any breakage, which has been amazing.
Amazing. I'm like, you'd think I was drinking it. I'm going through it so quickly. So I've got some Blondorplex. I'm not going to move my camera again, but I've got a scale over here. So I'm going to mix my Blondorplex. 1 part for our cleansing rinse, 1 part Blondorplex powder to 4 parts warm water. Okay, so my husband brought me down some water earlier. So I've got 4 grams here, and I'm going to go, there we go, perfect. Okay, now this definitely, oh, there's my brushes. This definitely is going to be a little bit watery, obviously, because it's part water, right? But we're just going to give it a little bit of a stir. And I think the biggest thing when you're doing a cleansing rinse is to make sure that you're like mixing it all together properly. Give that powder a few moments to sort of get in there and dissolve. But I think it's also important to remember how like sort of watery and loose the mixture is going to be so that you don't end up with it on your probably black pants like me. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm going to try, Nichelle, do you want to talk a little bit more about Blondorplex? And I'm going to do a demi and a permanent swatch into a foil with our cleansing rinse.
Okay, awesome. So like Chelsea said, Blondorplex is new to our portfolio. And it's the same, Blondor multi-blonde powder that we know and love. You're still going to get 7 levels of lift. It has a great consistency, and it has the anti-yellow molecules in it as well. The biggest difference is it has our Wellaplex bonding agent already in the lightener. So it takes having to do that step at the color bar of adding Wellaplex into your lightener out. And I know it's a very small step and it maybe takes, a minute or even less than, but sometimes, that minute in the back when you're remixing for your client or something is just everything. So it kind of takes all the guesswork out and you're able to just go in with your lightener as you would. And then after you rinse your highlights, you would follow with step 2 for 10 minutes. And then you would rinse post color service and go in and tone afterwards. So we always kind of complete the treatment system first before moving on to our next chemical service.
That's a great point. People always ask me like, when do I tone and when do I do this and that? That's the easiest way to remember it, guys. When you're doing your Wellaplex service, whether you're using Wellaplex traditionally with a color or lighter, or if you're using the new Blondorplex, we always complete our Wellaplex service before we move on to our next chemical service, whether it's a toning service or another lightening service, whatever it is, we always complete our Blondor or our Wellaplex service first. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I've got my cleansing rinse on here. I'm just going to pop this over top. Now, when would we use, I'm just marking these. I left my Sharpie upstairs, so I'm drawing on my foils with a duckbill clip, but when would we use a cleansing rinse service? Like what do you think, Nichelle, would be our moment for this?
So I usually use a cleansing rinse service when I'm wanting to remove like a slight removal of tone or slight removal of tone. So I'm not looking for levels of lift. I'm looking just to remove tone from the hair, and I'm looking for something gentle. So if it's whether I've accidentally overtoned the hair at the sink or a client's overtoned their own hair or overused purple shampoo, that's where a cleansing rinse is really handy.
Dude, I am a chronic blonde recharge overuser. That's our purple shampoo in our Envigo line. It's so beautiful. And I'm obviously kind of a chronic overuser of it. But for me, what's great about a cleansing rinse is I've got this like wicked gray patch here. This, like, all of this gray here is natural. And it blends really well, but it takes my purple shampoo a little bit differently than the rest of it for porosity reasons and things like that. So sometimes I'll cleansing rinse my own hair and just sort of pull that out there a little bit. It takes 5 minutes and boom, it's gone. It's so nice. Any of those I also have clients who are addicted to pigmented shampoos that aren't purple ones, that are pink, or the conditioners, things like that. I find a cleansing rinse is really great for those as well. I have a regular client who uses those pigmented shampoos and conditioners. And she came for her regular highlights and her hair was like pink, the whole thing. And I was like, you know, but I just did her roots as normal. You know, after COVID, it's, you know, her roots were like this. So I did her roots as normal and then did a cleansing rinse at the sink to not have to pull a higher developer for a longer period of time through her mid shaft and ends. And it came right out. It was perfect.
Amazing.
Yeah. I think the important lesson here, guys, we're going to let this cleansing rinse process probably till close to the end. I think the important thing here, guys, to understand with the cleansing rinse is that seeing is believing, right? When it comes to lighteners, you don't have to get crazy. We don't need super high developers. We don't need to be blowing the client's hair away. We can take it easy and, you know, not have to get too crazy with how strong what we're using is. Right? I think you guys will be surprised to find how much lift we'll get out of something that's that has water in it instead of developer.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about, do we have any questions yet, Nichelle? Are you good?
No questions yet.
Perfect. So the next thing I want to talk about is this is kind of the next step up from cleansing and rinse when we're talking about corrective color. We talk about a mild lightener. Okay. So you guys will find the more that you hear Nichelle and I talk, that we believe in slow and low. We don't believe in using, you know, super strong developers with lighteners. We don't believe that sort of thing is necessary. So we always start sort of at the bottom. If you're just trying to remove a little bit of tone, or, you know, you've had a little bit of an overtone, that's a good job for a cleansing rinse, right? But when we move into color correction, where we're dealing with black box dye or like crazy stuff that clients have done to their own hair, things like that, which, by the way, speaking of box dye, I forgot to tell you, Color Renew will work on box dye as long as it's oxidative. Just wanted to say that. But I think we tend to panic when we have these big color corrections and we try to move into this, you know, crazy amount of lightener and developer that we're using. So I want to talk a little bit about mild lightener. A mild lightener is something that we use that's a low volume developer with our lightener, and it's the same mixing ratio as our cleansing rinse. It's 1:4, 1 part our Blondora powder, or our Blondora Plex in this case, to 4 parts, 1.9%. Okay, so that's our pastel developer. You theoretically could also use this with our Color Touch 1.9%, which is historically what I've done it with. So I grabbed this one today, and we're going to together see what happens. So if you want to talk a little bit, Nichelle, about a little bit more about where maybe you would use a mild lightener.
Yeah, definitely. So usually when I use a mild lightener service, it's when I'm looking to remove level and tone. So it's where I'm looking for more levels of lift. So a client that, yeah, maybe has box black color and they're looking to start their journey towards going lighter. That's where I would kind of go in with a mild lightener. And I know immediately a lot of people think when they see this formula, they think, oh my gosh, like you're only going to use 1.9%. You're not going to get any lift with that. But what I like about using a lower percentage is you have way more control and you're not going to be rushing to rinse out sections if they process too fast. It gives you time to apply it properly and really go through it methodically and make sure you're getting saturation and everything like that.
That's such a great point that I didn't even think of, is that idea of control, and being able to have control and not have to lift out sections and rinse things and all that kind of stuff. The last time I got my hair platinum card, I got a platinum card done on my hair, which was many moons ago, done by a really talented stylist named Kelsey Sebo at Ivory Noir Hair Salon here in Edmonton. She, poor thing, it took her forever to foil, because I have a ton of hair. It took her forever to foil my hair, and then she had to rinse out the back part by the time she got to here. And we definitely got our cardio in, going back and forth to the sink, and the results were amazing. but poor thing, like this was before we had Blonde Orplex and any of that stuff. So man, the tools that we have now and the innovations that Wella's put out since then would really, I think, have helped her. So big shout out to Kelsey there. Poor thing, right? Okay, so I've got my mild lightener mixed up, and I'm just putting it onto one of my last sort of permanent Coloursin Perfect 5-stroke 5 swatch here, and I'm going to cover it, and we're going to see what happens. Okay, and see how much lift we can get out of this.
And did you mix that 1 part powder to 4 parts developer?
Totally.
Awesome.
Yeah, I've got my scale set up here. Hope everybody is mixing their color on a scale. I hope nobody is cutting corners. We really need to make sure that we're sort of respecting the craft that way. Do you use a scale, Michelle?
Yes, I do. And one of the things I really love about weighing your product is you ensure even lift throughout the head. So when I go remix, because I tend to remix every 30 grams or so,
Smart.
It allows me to make sure I'm getting consistent. Because if I have one bowl that has more developer and one bowl that has less developer, I'm going to get more lift with the one that has less developer and less lift with the one that has more developer.
Oh my God. And that consistency is so important, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in the other flip side of that too, is you can also control how much lift you're getting depending on how much developer you're mixing in. So it's
totally
like trick that people don't really think of.
Well, and I think it's important too to have that consistency for your clients. And from an owner's perspective, I'm big on like zero waste, you know? So the more that you're, you know, measuring your color and writing things down and all that kind of stuff, the less waste you're going to have. So it's just good habits all the way around. Okay, so before we get back into to our cleansing rinse and our mild lightener, and we can talk more about Color Renew if we have time, I just wanted to show you a couple of hacks. I hope everybody knows what a hack is and I don't sound crazy, but hacks are things that like maybe go against the rules or maybe a different way. You know, when you see kitchen hacks or cooking hacks, it's like people using a turkey baster to decorate a cake, or I don't know, you know, people that make their bed with a frying pan. I don't know, whatever. But it's a way that, don't try that at home. It's a way that we can use things that we have in ways maybe that they weren't designed, right? Now, disclaimer, guys, will not encourage you guys to do anything that is irresponsible. Like, let's keep our heads on straight here. But I also believe that once you have your foundational knowledge, there's no reason in you know, why you shouldn't be able to take your products out for a spin with a little bit of foundational knowledge and see what they can get you. Okay. So when I was thinking about ways and techniques that we, things that we use to remove color and the things that I've done in my own career, the first thing that comes to my mind is being a blonde. When my hair used to sort of overtone around the edges, I always ended up with like grays and blues and violets sort of around the edges of my face. So ways that we used to remove that was, you know, you can use your cleansing rinse to do that. If you've used a permanent toner, you certainly and should use Color Renew to do that because it's damage free, right? But most hairdressers will tell you the first thing that you should do if you've got just a slight bit of overtone is try and just shampoo it. Just try and get it out with a bit of shampoo, right? So then I thought, well, our professional shampoos aren't going to do that. Our Envigo Brilliance isn't going to do that. It's a really beautiful color safe shampoo. Most, you know, professional clarifiers also aren't going to do that. So then I thought, what do I have in my house? Because I don't have any like Head and Shoulders. I would never do it with laundry detergent. What do I have around my house that maybe could take a little bit of tone out? And the best I could do was hand soap. Okay. So I took a few of my swatches and I washed them with hand soap, and I was pleasantly surprised. This is the permanent one, right?
Okay. Oh.
Did I lose you on my back?
Yeah.
You're back now?
Yeah.
Sorry, somebody was trying to call me. Yay. So you guys remember how bright this one was before, right? I have it. Oh, no, I don't have another one. So these were pretty bright before. This took a little bit of the pigment out, but not enough that it would be too much, right? So if you had something that was slightly too red, could you take a clarifier or, you know, something that's maybe not so hairdressery and take a bit of the color out? Absolutely. But here's the surprise. I also made these semi swatches. So this one I haven't done anything to. This is the Color Fresh Create New Blue. Over white swatch, straight up. I've done nothing to this one. This is the one that I washed with hand soap.
Oh, wow.
Right? Like it really hung on.
Yeah.
So I did think it was interesting that this one, even when washed with subpar surfactants, hung on.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy, right? So that was my hack with that. So lesson learned, guys, if you've got somebody with porous hair, maybe before you panic and you start to mix up something crazy, color renew and all that kind of stuff, just try to give it a couple of shampoos. If it's just something slight, you may be surprised at how much a little bit of like slightly warm water and you know, a couple of shampoos might get you. Mm-hmm. Have you ever done that, Nichelle?
Yeah, even clients who've like said, "Oh, it's just a little too ashy." It's like, "Oh, I'll just shampoo it a couple times and it will kind of lift out." And usually you never see them like totally. They don't come back in to get it refixed or something, right?
Totally. And you know, it's a hard thing in client relations. Like if a client says that to you as they're leaving, it's difficult, right? Because now you've done your cut, you've done your blowout, you've got another client coming and you've got to sanitize everything before the next client, right? But for me, if somebody says it to me, if somebody sits back down in my chair, and I do this because I'm currently sitting in my chair, somebody sits down in my chair and they look at the mirror and their hair's still wet and they're like, "Oh, it's too ashy," I'm going to shampoo it for them a couple more times and try and fix it before they leave, right?
Yeah.
But most clients, yeah, if you say that to them, most blondes, they already know that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I am going to show you a couple more swatches that I've done. So the first rule of hair color, guys, is that color doesn't lift color, right? And people say this to me all the time. "Oh, I did this and it lifted with color. I did that and I lifted with color." This is the same permanent swatch, 5-stroke 5, and I put 7-stroke 0 on it with 30 vol. Okay, I haven't looked at it yet, so I don't know what's about to happen. I'm pretty sure I know what's about to happen, but it didn't lift, which is good. Thank God that happened on camera. So I'm wiping it off, but you can see like that's what it was before. This is what it is now. So the 7-stroke 0 has certainly canceled out. Try to give you my white wall there. The 7-stroke 0 has certainly maybe dulled a little bit of that red, but it hasn't lifted it despite it being with 30 vol.
Yeah.
You know? Okay. So just to level up on that one, this is the same swatch, permanent 5-stroke 5, but this is with one of our High Lift 12 series blonde with 40 vol. Still no lift, right? And again, I haven't seen these. Okay, so I'm just wiping this off a little bit. And you can see it's wet, but there's no lift there. Okay, so I always tell my students when I'm in classes, guys, first rule of hair color, color doesn't lift color. They teach you this day one in cosmetology school once they're done all the sanitization stuff and the really creepy diseases of the hair and scalp chapter. I hope they still do that. It like scars you for life. But the first day of your color portion is color doesn't lift color. Really what they should say, guys, is that artificial color does not lift artificial color, right? Color doesn't lift color, just sounds better, but it's relative to artificial color. And yeah, we just proved that. Okay. Yeah. So I did the same thing with Demi's. So Color Touch 5-stroke 5. This is the 7-stroke 0 with 30 vol. Okay, now because I'm going to wipe this off, I explained before, because we have a mix of oxidative and non-oxidative pigments in a Demi, would we maybe see a little bit of sloughing of that cuticle layer color in a Demi with an ammoniated color put over top of it? Maybe, but it's not color lifting color.
Yeah.
Right? And I did these swatches at 12:30, guys. These have been on for more than an hour. Yeah. Okay. And this is the same one, Color Touch 5-stroke 5. Then I put a high lift color over top of it, a 12 series with 40 vol. Okay, so I think we can maybe put that one to rest. Color doesn't lift color, guys. It never has, it never will. Are there special circumstances where we're dealing with, you know, specific kinds of porosity and other things that may factor in? Sure. But like I said at the beginning, really color removal techniques have a lot to do with consistent results and making sure that you understand your client, and you can use some of these hacks in those ways. But if you really, really, really want consistent, predictable results, which is the key to making money as a hairdresser, among other things, but the key to making money, you got to use your products and your knowledge, how they're designed and taught to you. Okay. Now, the last hack I have here before we'll take a look at the cleansing rinse is on our semi. So again, I made up some semi swatches with our ColorFresh Create New Blue. So this is our control. What is the biggest thing that people ask you about, Nichelle, when they're asking you about removing semis?
How to do it. What do you use to do it?
Right? And for me, like my favorite thing to remove a semi with is a cleansing rinse or a mild lightener, which we're going to see here, right? I decided not to demo those because everybody has seen a straight lightener remove a semi, right? But people ask me all the time about 000, right? Will 0-stroke 00 with a higher volume developer remove a semi? The answer to that is sometimes, right? We've all seen videos on the internet of artists doing this successfully, and it does happen. But again, it has a lot more to do with porosity and condition of the hair and the circumstances of that client as far as success is concerned. So this is that new blue with the 000, right? And my theory, I looked at this one a bit earlier, I'm not even gonna lie. My theory on this is that will this have lifted, when I show it to you in just a second, will this, have lifted it a tiny bit? Like you can see the line there? Mm-hmm. Sure. But this is not a consistent way and a predictable way to lift out a semi. If you want consistent predictability with this, you're going to do it with your mild lightener, your cleansing rinse, which I'm just going to, for fun, dip it in there right now. We'll see what happens over the next couple of minutes before we got to sign off.
So I did use this technique last week on a client who I had done Ultra Purple on before quarantine. And obviously 4 months later, it's quite faded out, but it wasn't as faded out as you think it would be for a semi. Mm-hmm. I originally went in with a cleansing rinse to lift out as much of it as I could. And then after rinsing the cleansing rinse, I did go in with 0-stroke 00 and 20 volume to just scrub out the last bit of pigment. In that scenario, it did work, but I knew exactly what was on her hair. I had already gone in with a cleansing rinse and kind of opened up the cuticle and got things going. So that's a scenario where it worked, but it's not going to work every time. So
yeah, no, but that's a good point because you went in with your cleansing rinse, you opened up that cuticle, you sort of already started that chemical process, and then to go back in with that 000 and sort of like scrub it off, perfectly reasonable and probably better use of that hack, for lack of a better term. But you can see on my towel here, some of the blue did come off, right?
Yeah.
Now, so I also did one of the blue swatches because I had an extra one with a high lift. So same 12 series we saw before, not lift out the permanent or demis. Okay. I think we'll see a little bit more success and a little bit more lift out of this. Well, I could be wrong. Yeah, not really.
Oh, wow. It just sticks right in there.
It just sticks right in there, right? But now, just as we've been talking from the end of your little chat about what you did there with the cleansing rinse to right now, so what was that, 90 seconds, something like that? Yeah. Let's call it 2 minutes. I put that other blue one into our already mixed up mild lightener. So that's 1 part Blonde Orplex powder to 4 parts 1.9%. Okay, and keep in mind, guys, the highest pigmented shades in our ColorFresh Create portfolio is New Blue, High Magenta, and the Ultra Purple, right? So this New Blue has a lot of pigment in it. 90 seconds in the mild lightener.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Right? So I guess this sort of proves my point that really, guys, we can show you, I could go through all of the hacks that you guys want for different things you see online and, you know, different ways that we can remove different types of pigments. The reality, though, guys, is that the biggest success I was able to show you live today in 40 minutes that I've been talking is Color Renew used properly, mild lightener used properly, and I'll just show you quickly. This was the other mild lightener I did. This is on this is the one I did live. This is on a permanent swatch, a permanent red 5-stroke 5 swatch. Okay, and that was only on for about 20 minutes. Maximum processing time on this, guys, is 50 minutes.
And that was the cleansing rinse.
This is the mild lightener.
Oh, wow. Oh, perfect.
So this is 1 part Blonde Orplex powder to 4 parts, 1.9%. And that's all the developer it takes, guys. So if you're trying to if this client with this color comes in and says, oh, I'm just kind of sick of the red, you don't need to get crazy with 20 vol and whatever. Mild lightener, 1 part powder, 4 parts, 1.9%. And this was on for about 20 minutes. Now we can tone that to a nice brown. Easy peasy, right? And then last but not least, this is our cleansing rinse, which these ones get a little drippy. So I'm going to be a little careful here. And this was the one, Nichelle, that reiterate for me when you said that you would use a cleansing rinse.
When you want a slight removal of tone.
Totally. Okay. So this one is the Demi. Okay. So if you remember before, this is the control group. This is what color it was when we started. See the removal of tone there?
Amazing.
Okay. So not a lot of levels of, this is the cleansing rinse. So this is 1 part Blonde D'Or powder to 4 parts warm water. Not a lot of lift per se there, but you certainly can see how red it is down here where we didn't get any on there, and how it's lifted out the tone there, right?
Yeah.
And then on our permanent one, we're going to see the same thing, and just wipe this one off for you. And same thing. Yeah. Okay, we see a reduction of tone. Not a ton of lift. It's not this, your cleansing rinse isn't meant for like a strong amount of lift, but it is meant for that reduction of tone.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want you guys to make sure that you guys are checking out the app because all of the things I talked about, all of the formulas I talked about today are all on the app, and all of the usage instructions for Color Renew, which is, I think Nichelle and I have decided is our favorite thing of life, and Blonde D'Or Flex. Is on there as well. You guys can also reach out to us on Instagram. I think Nichelle's going to give you guys the handles there. Go for it.
Yeah. I don't know if I can find it. I have all these ninja videos in here. So my Instagram is The Hair Niche, and then Chelsea's is chelsea.wella.
Yep, mine's at the top underneath Modern Beauty Supplies because I joined.
And then we also have Wella Canada West, where we share formulas and information and all the new stuff coming up. And if you guys did want to delve a little bit deeper into color correction, I did do a live a few weeks ago that is on the Modern Beauty's Instagram TV that talks about all the different color correction techniques as well.
Awesome. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. Thank you again to Modern Beauty Supply for having us. It's always really great to sort of take over your space and see all your wonderful people join us. Oh yeah, Zena just put our Instagram handles, thank you, into the comments there. So again, thank you guys so much for having us. Please take care of yourselves out there, be safe, and remember that if you hoard your knowledge, you've wasted it. It doesn't belong to you. So if you learned something today, go and share it with your teams, go and share it with the world. Because it's not yours to keep. Okay. Have a great week, guys. Happy Hump Day and happy Non-Binary People's Day yesterday. We'll see you guys soon.
Yeah, we'll see you soon. Oh, and I forgot to add, next week we start a 3-part series of Triple Craft. So we're going to be doing an online 3-part series of.
Does that start next week?
That starts next week.
Oh, guys, it's going to be so good. Sorry, go.
And so that starts next week. So we have Zach coming on, and he's going to be doing a haircut live for us, and that will be on Tuesday next week instead of Wednesday. So please join us on Tuesday at 1 o'clock, and we'll see you guys there.
Awesome.
Bye.
Bye now.